I feel like for most people, as you get older, you start to fade away from Pokemon. Not completely, but in general, there's a time when you felt like you couldn't keep up anymore. You didn't know the new Pokemon and didn't care for all the new games. Now maybe I'm just projecting, but I love the old Pokemon and the first few gens. I still play the original Red, Blue, and Yellow. In fact, I'm actively trying to catch them all in all 3 of those games. But I couldn't imagine trying to learn all the new Pokemon at this point. There's like 9 generations, and I don't even know anything past Gen 4. But also, it's not like I haven't tried. I had Pokemon Go, I've tried out the new games, but it's just not worth it for me if I don't know who these characters are. Besides, I just can't relate to them like I can Gen 1 and Gen 2. Bad starters are one thing. Sometimes the starting 3 is gonna be ass, and I can live with that. But boring, plain, uninspired, and unoriginal designs are where I draw the line. For some reason, the first few gens of Pokemon have such life in them. They're memorable, they're cool. Well, some of them anyway. But have you seen the recent Generation 9 Pokemon? What is this? First of all, that's just a green cat, that's an apple, and that's a blue-haired duck. Probably a freaking liberal. And don't even get me started on the third evolutions. What is this? Why are the designs so human? Plus, what are these names? Meowscarada? These are some of the worst starters I've ever seen in my life. But moving on from that, the rest are mostly just unremarkable. I mean, who's gonna remember any of these? Lechonk, seriously? And then we've got a few rodents and cats and stuff. Smoliv is straight up just any other oval-shaped Pokemon. We've got some birds, as if there aren't a million of those already. Oh look, more human-shaped creatures. And then there are the variants. Oh my god. First of all, I'm not opposed to some of these variants. Animals have different species and colors all around the world. Logically, it makes sense. But from an evolutionary standpoint, why is there a pink Doug trio? What, is the soil pink in this area? And I know this isn't Gen 9, but I started hating this entire thing when I saw the Galarian variant of Weezing. I guess the Smog is green and gray and Galar, and for some reason they really want to wear top hats and mustaches. Galar is based on the UK. Are UK people really still wearing top hats so often that the Pokemon feel they need to as well? But back to Gen 9, these two are the same thing. Flamigo is just a flamingo, Sandy Shocks is just why, Goldengo is a cheese string, and everything else is just a big monster that wishes it were as cool as the legendaries from back in the day. I'm not saying any gen is perfect. Gen 1 isn't perfect, neither is Gen 2, none of them are, but Gen 9 is full of boring and lazy nothingness. It's like AI generated Pokemon. That's literally what they look like. And I'm not saying every Gen 9 Pokemon is bad either. Bramblegast is cool, Scovillain is neat, and I even like Smoliv's third evolution, Arboliva, but in my opinion, somewhere along the way, Pokemon lost the plot and got unoriginal. These seem like Pokemon that needed to exist because they needed more, not because they had 120 good ideas. But I digress, and actually, I know a guy who can debate me on this. Please welcome a man very knowledgeable in Pokemon, Konami, please nerf. One of the main points I bring up in the video I'm making is, okay, Gen 9 starters.
Okay.
Some of the worst pieces of crap I've ever seen.
Oh, okay, that's a hot take right there, indeed.
So, I don't know if you agree, if you disagree. Cause look, here's the thing. I can handle bad starters. It's you know, every couple generations you get a couple stinkers. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think these ones are potentially the worst, if not bottom 2.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I say this is because first of all, I think that the designs themselves are just like unoriginal. Like I honestly think it is just a green cat, an apple, and a duck.
So okay, you keep saying an apple. Wait, Coco is not an apple, dog. It's a literal or it's a crocodile.
Wasn't he supposed to be like a pepper though?
No.
Why does he have a stem? He has a stem.
Use the stem, it's a mohawk.
Fuecoco evolves into a singer?
Fuecoco evolves into an alligator rock singer.
He does not look like a rock singer though. He looks like just an alligator. Let's just put an
no. What Fuecoco looks like is that he's got nothing between those eyes, but that's besides the point. So yeah, the whole thing between like the Paldean starters in general, they're all supposed to be performers essentially.
Fuecoco. I mean, he also just looks like an apple. Like the head shape looks like an apple.
He does not look like an apple.
Come on.
Have you seen the tail?
Look, here's the thing. I don't mind the design of Skeledirge. I actually don't mind that design. It looks pretty cool.
Mhm.
I hate the design of Quaxley and the entire evolutionary line, and I really don't like the design of Sprigatito. How do I say
Sprigatito, yeah.
that?
Sprigatito, yeah.
Um, yeah, Sprigatito. Don't like that at all.
I feel like what you're not failing to understand necessarily, but like what you're kind of like forgetting here is so like when you look at middle stage evolutions, for example, they never look solid. Everyone always hates like the awkward teen phase. So like you see Crocolore, it's like, yeah, sure, I get it. But you have Pokemon like the Quaxley line, for example. Sure, he's just a little baby duck who's got really weird hair. But then after it evolves into said dancer Pokemon,
I
Quackaville.
also just like the Meowscarada and um Quackava. Look, I understand like these are supposed to be like professions or whatever. The
Mhm.
design is way too human.
The-
I think these are way too like legs, arms ahead.
I think that okay,
I
so I
don't
think
like
that's
it.
the part where it's supposed to show like either cultural relevance or like relation to the performer itself, right? So Meowscarada has a literal mask like built into its design. You have what's his name? You have Quavicle who has like a really elegant tail who's it's really like brought out and everything, and you kind of just remember that like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a dancer, it's supposed to be more flashy and exotic in that regard. So I feel like you just don't like the specific designs and aren't really necessarily respecting like the designs themselves for what they are versus what your preferences are, right?
I think
Because
you're right. I think you're right.
because I know you love talking about Generation 1 and Generation 4. Those are your favorite starters.
So Gen 1 obviously classic, but I think the designs are great. Gen 2 I'm not a fan of
Gen
at
2 is
all.
probably like the generation where everyone agrees like every single, even from a competitive standpoint, every single starter is just not great.
Gen 3, I don't mind Torchic. I think that's pretty cool. I don't like
Okay.
the other two though.
I genuinely thought you would have liked Trico more than
You
Torchic.
know what? Trico's not bad. Trico's not bad. You know what I think it is with Mudkip? I actually kind of like the way Mudkip looks.
Okay.
Honestly, I think when I was just a kid, I hated the name Mudkip. So now I just really don't like the Pokemon
Because it had mud in the name.
because it had mud in the name and it
Oh
wasn't
my
something
gosh.
watery. I kept thinking like,
Oh,
why is his name Mudkip like that? So anyway, Gen 4, Gen 4 is quite possibly better than Gen 1.
okay, that's a take.
What do you have
I'll
to
hear
say
you out.
about
I'll hear
that?
you out. I think like what you're really enjoying about it is that like Gen 4 is so similar to Gen 1. You know what I mean? You
Maybe.
literally
Yeah.
have a grass starter that's sitting on all fours. You have a water starter that's based off of an animal or like based off an actual aquatic animal.
Yeah.
And then you have a fire starter with a fire tail, and all of them become like super aggressive Pokemon and whatnot. I feel like they just are very similar to Gen 1.
Okay, I think you're right. I think color has a lot to do with it too because looking at Gen 7,
Okay.
I hate all of it.
Really?
Looking at Sun and Moon, I absolutely despise all of it. I think
Gen 7 is all circus performers that you would see. Gen 8 is, I think it's supposed to be different references to English culture. And then as we said earlier, Gen 9 is all about performers. So it's like I feel like everything else was more animal based. I don't remember specifically if Gen 5 had anything to do with
yeah,
like something
which
specific.
I just don't know if I agree. Like
You
I don't
don't
agree, but I just don't
agree
know.
with it?
I just don't. Yeah, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. Look, I think at the end of the day, I like when Pokemon look unique enough, not so human-like, but at the same time not too animal-like. But I will forgive animal-like Pokemon if they are the starters. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Okay,
that's
it
or if
does,
they're
but
like
it doesn't
birds.
because then what was it? We can get into the conversation of Goldengo because I remember you talking about Goldengo and saying that
Believe
he
me,
looks yeah.
I mentioned him in my video,
Okay.
which plays before this. Most of these Pokemon are just like uninspired, unoriginal looking. These are rodents, cats, dogs, whatever animals they are.
Hmm.
I figure like we're 9 generations in, and it's almost like I've had enough of these.
Okay.
In my opinion, like Palmy, Pomo, and Palmot. Like, I could
Unique
forgive
as
that in
Pokemon.
Gen 2. I cannot forgive that in Gen 9.
I feel like those Pokemon are actually super unique because have you seen the typing for Palmy, the Palmot line?
Well,
So the
electric and
typing,
fighting.
yeah, that's electric and fighting. We haven't really seen that
Yeah, but
much.
why does that have to, like, why is that such a big deal, though?
It's a unique type combination that allows what was it, electric Pokemon to hit a different type of Pokemon essentially.
Is this the best they could come up with an electric fighting? Like, I'm not mad at the electric fighting type. I'm just saying, like, this is the best we could do. First of all, Palmo and Palmot look completely the same.
I don't know about that one, Chief. Hold on.
And what is this here? This tend to mouse hold. So there's just one more mouse. Okay, here's what I will say. Arboliva looks cool.
Okay.
I like that. I really like Arboliva. I don't know why, I just do. You know why? Because it's not an animal. It's not a puffy, cute animal like we've gotten for the last 8 gens. And it's not human shaped. This looks like this is a cool bird branch type. This is unique. It's unique. That's why.
I'm gonna show you some Pokemon because you're saying that's your issue. It's you don't like the fluffy cute Pokemon, okay?
Not anymore.
We've got legendaries like Zacian Crown. That was Generation 8. We've got.
I don't like that either.
I don't like that.
Why does he have a sword? Why does it have a sword in its mouth?
It's literally what was it? It's a reincarnation of the heroes of Galar.
When they hold things or have like they create items.
Okay.
I don't like that. I don't know. There's a lot of Pokemon that just they have features about them. Okay, yeah, by the way, Charcadet, Armarouge, Ceruledge, these are all human-looking Pokemon. I disagree with all of it.
So the fun thing about these Pokemon is that these are actually heavily inspired by Mega Man.
I mean, that's cool, but I don't like them as Pokemon.
Okay, but why not?
because they're human-looking.
Because you bring up that argument, right? So I'm gonna go back to Jinx. I
don't like Jinx either. I don't like Jinx either.
Okay, and then you don't like Machamp then, right?
I think Machamp is different enough because he can have like 4 arms or something, or like I don't know. I can forgive that a little bit.
Okay, you told me you really liked Torchic, yeah? That was your favorite Gen 3 starter? What about Blaziken?
I prefer Torchic over Blaziken, to be quite
honest.
But I also prefer Piplup over not Prinplup. What was the third?
Empoleon?
Yeah.
If we're saying that, like, you don't like newer generations of Pokemon, you have to remember, like, I don't think it's necessarily newer generations of Pokemon. I think it's just, like, not liking specific Pokemon who follow this feature. And it just so happens that more Pokemon are having this feature as of recent.
Yes, and I think that more Pokemon are having this feature because they are running out of ideas.
I don't think so.
I looked at this entire thing, and over half of these I'm like, that's either an already existing Pokemon because it either just looks like a Pokemon that exists or it actually is like a variant. Like variants, I feel like are necessary because, like, you know, in real life, like there's different like species and like colors of things all around the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of them though, I can't make sense of in my head. That's the problem. So, for example, the Wiglet and Wugtrio. Why does that have to be different? Like this is in a different area of the Pokemon world, which I understand. Yep. From an evolutionary standpoint, Dugtrio makes sense. Wugtrio is pink. I just feel like that doesn't, like, what is the soil pink?
Well, you also have to remember, Wiglet and Wugtrio are water type Pokemon. But they are Wiglet is basically based off of these little eels that pops their heads out of like underwater.
Okay. Now, I'm going to be honest, that does help. Maybe it's just the fatigue. Pokemon fatigue.
That is genuinely fair because we are in the 9th generation of Pokemon right now, and Pokemon has had a notorious track of having to release either a new game or something new every year to keep up with merchandising.
Why do they have to do that only sometimes? Why can't that be all the time? Would it not be more special if they announced one Pokemon or 3 Pokemon like evolutionary once a month type of thing, and that would be like the hype of the month?
I think that would be too much DLC going into a game.
Yeah, but it's not even DLC. Like why like they can just do that, but they can do it in different ways. They can do it in DLC, they can do it in cards, they can do it in the shows.
Actually, they do that through what was it? Pokemon Go. They actually do that for Pokemon
Go. That's another one.
Yeah.
So why can't they do that? And by the time they actually have 100 new ones, that's when the new game comes out.
I don't know, because I feel like I feel like the game itself loses its charm then for not being able to go out and just like catch every single Pokemon in the region. Like you can't just discover things. Like you already know everything before the game
Well,
is
there
out.
can be a few in the game. There can be a few in the game that are new, obviously. But like,
Come on.
like why does it have to be a mass release with all these Pokemon? I just don't know, and I think that's why. Like I remember like when it was only Gen 5 and Gen 6 and even Gen 4, like growing up, and I kept trying to get back into it, and I kept trying to like remember like the new released ones, and I couldn't because there was too much at a time. So why can't, I mean, we have 1,000 of these at this point. Do we need to keep mass releasing them?
I don't think they have to keep mass releasing them, essentially, because I think so something that you don't know actually too is because you said that you basically stopped after Generation 4 for playing the games themselves, right?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because like don't get me wrong, Pokemon has a lot of Pokemon in them. What Pokemon has done in response to that is that now when you play throughout these games, they've actually cut the Pokedex. Where it's not just
that
like,
I know.
Okay, so you know about Dexit.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you gonna do? So you take a handful of Pokemon from each generation?
Basically, yeah.
I hate that. I hate that already. I hate it so much.
Okay, why do you hate it?
because what if I want to catch all the Gen 1 Pokemon in my game and I can only get 40 of them?
Go play Generation 1. And also, that's Generation 1. That's never going to happen.
Okay, Generation 4. I want to catch all the Gen 4 or Gen 3 Pokemon.
Okay.
And I can't because there's only 40 or 50 of them.
Yeah, either go play that game or maybe just to actually take a chance on experiencing new Pokemon. Because I think that's also the other charm about Dexit is that like it forces players to actually use Pokemon that they don't naturally do use for a playthrough. So it's like, sure, you're cutting out some of your favorites, but at the same time, you actually get an opportunity to find new ones.
What if I don't want that opportunity?
Well, then I don't know why you're playing Pokemon, dude. There's 1,000 of these fucking things.
That's what I'm saying. There's too much. Why can't the new games be like Gen 7, 8, and 9?
They did already try that, and it did inspire a bunch of people to actually only play with new Pokemon. The fan base hated it.
So
they genuinely hated it because they weren't able to actually play with their favorites. They were forced to play with Pokemon that they had no idea about.
Which exactly, they don't know anything about the new Pokemon. That's why there just shouldn't be any new Pokemon. But let me just make a suggestion.
Okay, that's a take, right?
Let me just make a suggestion. Why can't? I mean, they're releasing 2, sometimes even 3 of the same game. Why can't one of the games be Gen 1, 2, 3, the other 4, 5, 6, the other 7, 8, 9?
So you want remakes?
And well, remakes. Well, it can be the same game, but you can have an experience based on the Pokemon that you know, and keep the trading there. So your Pokedex can be 1,000 or whatever, or you know whatever it is. But like you might have the game that's only Gen 1, 2, and 3 because that's all you know. Yeah. But if you traded with somebody, you could get a Gen 7 Pokemon or a Gen 6 or a Gen 9. Why can't they do that?
Okay, here's my problem with that then. What if you like Generations 1, 5, and 8? Now you have
Name
to buy all
one
3 games.
person. Name one person. Yeah, okay, then buy all 3 games. People buy...
right here.
What's up? I think really my biggest problem comes down to they haven't made a modern Generation 1 game.
Yes, they have. They have, actually, yes. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, they released that on the Switch. I think. Yeah, but you can't pick starters in that game, though. I thought you could only pick Pikachu or Eevee. But the Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle are entirely catchable in both games. And if you need another idea of a remake, you can go all the way back to the Game Boy Advance games where we had Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Leaf Green and Fire Red, which, by the way, Leaf Green, that's probably my favorite game of all time, I'll say.
And then it is. I'm sorry, I'll let you talk. Yeah.
No, I mean that's pretty much that's all I was gonna say. Like it's why can't they make a clean, true to the comics, staying true to the comics, Gen 1 remake? They can't do it, and if they can't do that, then why can't they have games Gen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
A true Gen 1 remake is boring. Have you played Generation 1 recently?
Gen 1, I play red and blue all the time.
You play red and blue all the time.
Yes, I
Do you like not being able to run in those games? Do you like
That
having
is
to
an issue.
manually set up the bicycle constantly?
I'm not saying
Do-
they're better than Leaf Green.
Do you like having a PC storage of 20?
You know what I do like?
What?
You know what I do like about red and green?
What do you like?
I like the exploits. I like getting unlimited Master Balls. I
Okay.
like finding Mew.
Who wants to catch Mew every single game? Each new game has their own Mew, essentially. Okay.
They're not as good as the actual Mew.
Mew's a okay. Mew
Good.
is not
I
that
just don't
great
see
of a
why.
Pokemon. Hold
Why
on.
do you have to? Why do you have to have a counter argument for everything I say? Why can't you just agree that Gen 1 to 4 is the best gen and the exploits are fun?
Because fun fact, I think Generation 5 is actually my favorite.
Let me look up Generation 5 right now and just throw up at these Pokemon.
Go ahead.
Like which one is Spiritomb in?
Spiritomb is Generation 4.
Yeah, obviously, because Gen 4 stays on top. Which in Rayquaza as well.
Gen 4 stand. Rayquaza is Generation 3.
I mean, I think you've explained each one of my grievances, and I gotta say, only about half of them I can turn my head the other way,
Okay.
swallow my pride with.
Okay. You know what? I'll take
So-
that as my own win because I don't think of myself as that good of a debater.
Is there anything are there any new ideas that perhaps I gave you?
No.
You can't.
Like,
You're not gonna agree with me on anything I said.
I gave you a reason for almost everything.
So, all right. I guess that's gonna conclude it. Is there anything final that you want to say? Any final words?
Any final words? Sandshrew is awesome. Electros is also awesome. I love Electros. That's also my favorite Pokemon from Generation. That's like my favorite Pokemon, period. And please subscribe to Konami Please Nerf. But yeah, if you like my vibe, or if you like silly silly team building ideas and whatnot, I have a channel dedicated towards just fun competitive teams that you can just do. Please subscribe or follow me on Twitch. Both are cool. Regardless if you subscribe to me or not, please subscribe to good old Robbie over here because oh boy howdy, he makes the content. That's all I'm gonna say about that. He makes the content and he makes it good.
We'll see. We will see. And my final words are Sandshrew is Generation 1 to 4, and Electros is a stupid zebra from Generation 5. That's going to be it. That's going to be it for this. And you know what? Konami, please nerf. I hope that when I start, when or if I start the Defeat Me, win $1,000, I hope to face you. You pick the game, I pick the rules. That's going to be it. Good night.
Good night. Good night to you, sir. I hope to face you as well.